Good evening, good evening. I'm going to reuse a background today because I actually like this one. Hopefully everybody is doing well today. Hopefully everybody can hear me as well. Things this week have been really, really hectic. I don't know what everybody else's daily routine is, but around here it's been very hectic. I might have employees coming back shortly. They've laxed a lot of the rulings on it. I'm still debating on that, but eBay-wise, Amazon-wise, every platform I'm on is selling very, very well. Hopefully everybody can hear me. If you can't, somebody just shout that out. But I've made some predictions before in the past, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk today about, in general, doing this as full-time. I'd like to literally cover the topic working from home because that's mostly what I do. With the pandemic and everything going around, I haven't changed much of what I do. I mean, it's still the same basic business. There's no difference that I could see other than I'm not sourcing the same way, but I'm still sourcing. Like I've said in the past, all these things being closed up, there's been a backup of stuff to buy. So now that certain things are open, I've got more merchandise to sell right now than I think I have ever had in my entire life. And I have, half a million, a million, I don't know, so many pieces of collectibles to sell just sitting around here that aren't even up right now that it's insane. And then to realize all the good deals that just keep coming my way. And honestly, I think once it's open for everybody, I think that's going to be a big plus for most people in most places where you live. A lot of the estate sale companies and things like this haven't been running business. And I would never want to dwell or make money on someone's pain and suffering. But at this point, with all the estate sales that looks like they're coming open around here even, and ones in other states and what people have sent me, there's going to be a flood of stuff for everybody to buy. That's going to be a plus. A lot of people who haven't sourced usually buy certain things. There's going to be a backup of some things. With that, I'll make a recommendation. We'll get to the chat in just a minute here. But space out what you buy. If you buy a whole bunch of stuff all at once, be careful that other people aren't bombing eBay and other sites with the exact same things. It'll lower the price. So we hang on to a lot of stuff for Christmas and fourth quarter because it gives people time to get rid of their stuff, and then I can come back in and sell it for a little higher, and I'll be one person selling stuff that a lot of other people have already blown out because they sold it really quickly through the summer. You buy it when it's cheap, which is going to be the next month or so. Things should be really cheap from what I see right this very second. Now, with everything closed down in some areas, it's a little higher again because you got to add shipping and things like that into it too. But with the amount of estate sales, and I've called around and I've talked to companies and backlogs, and I know there was a lot of folks that passed and lost some relatives, so my heart goes out to everybody. There is going to be, though, some opportunity because of that to some extent, and buying some of the stuff will help them, monetarily wise at least. So there's a good aspect to it, not just for you, but for the folks that, need the funds coming in, obviously. So there's two sides to it. But I honestly think there's, at least from what I see right now and what everybody has sent me, there should be a bunch of stuff to sell. There's been a hiatus of people being able to pick up from sales going, from that happening, antique stores. The whole works. There's going to be stuff all over the place. People are going to want to get out to some extent. I know it won't be as big as it was before for a while, but the point of it is there should be plenty for everybody to buy. Hopefully everybody has the funds to do it. Flip what you can as soon as you can and then reinvest everything is what my personal recommendation is. We've sunk thousands in just this week alone into stuff. But our sales are 4 digits. Yesterday was well over 1,000 just on the account that, we pretty much share with everybody. So sales wise is there. The merchandise, the ability to get it is just incredible right now. If I wanted to drive out and, expose myself a little bit in some areas, I could pick up a ton of stuff for really cheap from people who just want to sell it for money wise right now. They don't have time to wait, or, whatever the case may be. So, there is a bright side. There is a bright side for reselling for those of us who have our own home based, or if you have you rent a place or whatever you do. If it's your business, there's some big opportunities right now. And just by looking at what's going on and looking at the places that have opened up, even in other countries, you can look at the numbers, sales numbers and things like that. It's half of what it was. So, I mean, there's going to be some issues still going forward, but, if as long as there's not some huge massive second wave, there could be, but as long as there isn't some dire thing like that, this fourth quarter, I think more people are going to be buying online regardless of what happens. I don't think that's an if. I think people will have realized they can buy a lot of the stuff that they wanted before online, but they never had the reason to do it. I think there's going to be more of a reason. So fourth quarter for everybody could be a huge factor no matter where you're at this year, whether it's eBay, Amazon, Etsy. I don't think it's going to matter to some extent. As long as you're in the top, say, 5 platforms with your stuff, you should be, I think, good to go. Because right now, man, I can't. I wished I would have recorded this morning's packing because it was horrendous, and I do mean horrendous. It took a long time, 3 hours, by myself packing it, and it was a lot of stuff, and it's still going like that, and that's what most people are telling me. There's a lot of stuff still to buy. Again, you should be starting to see some ads pop up. Check Craigslist right now. Facebook Marketplace has never been good for me around here, but Craigslist still is fairly decent, and there's ads. My phone goes off all the time nowadays with people trying to sell something quick. I'll meet here, meet in public. You can wear gloves, man, whatever, Most of the time I meet at the police department or the fire department. Usually the police department, though. Let's pop up here, see who's out here. I do want to broach the subject today. I do want to see what everybody else has to say. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing this evening? I have not looked at Instagram or any of my other accounts, so I do apologize for all of those folks that I haven't got to who I usually do converse with. It's not trying to snub anybody. I'm really busy, and I don't, besides that, no employees and all the other stuff. I still got to do all kinds of other stuff. My kids are still working, so I still have to do the normal labor. I just, only have a couple employees working, so kids, so, anyway. Hustle and Grind Calgary, how are you doing? I've spent a ton of money on eBay this week. Wherever you can get merchandise, I guess, is great, as long as it's decent merchandise. My personal opinion, I would rather buy it in person or from somebody I know or from a local auction place because you have a little less chance on it being picked through on eBay. On eBay, I dump off big lots of stuff all the time, 1,000 postcards, 150 of that. I do records the same way. We'll bunch them up in big lots and just blow them out that way. It just depends. If it's better looking stuff, like let's say I got a bunch of R&B King 45 records, chances are I would put all those up in a lot on eBay and get well over what I would selling them locally just by the sheer label of them alone. Man, I've got a lot of 45s, so we might even put some together. I'm going to maybe do some videos on showing a little more about back stock for everybody to see, the amount. I've been going through a box or so now every couple days. I did film another one of the big purchase we got in December from a picker who had passed, so I might show some more boxes of that. There's some really cool stuff in there that I've never seen before. I also got a massive haul of vintage uniform buttons going back all the way. I've got some dating back to right around the Revolutionary War era. About 1790, I think, is the oldest one I have found so far. I might put a video together because it's an area that I collect in a lot. I've shown some here and there. I've got a few here. I might show you a few really cool ones. Something that will tie back to other things that I sell, such as covers, advertising, postal covers, and trade cards, postcards. These all kind of tie into that same area. Disney Family 515, how are you doing? The next video for Patreon, and I see already quite a few Patreons, There is a postcard photo. Somebody had I don't want to call any names on here, but there's a photo, well, several of some postcards. I haven't posted underneath that. I'm going to talk about that in a video. We're going to talk about a little bit on sourcing in the next one. That is shot already. I did it this morning. I've edited almost all the way, so it will be up before Saturday afternoon at the very, very latest. I would really like to have it up tomorrow. I did do another video. Actually, I finished 2 videos. It's one long one. I'm going to cut it into 2 for the art professor. So we're going to go into finishing the postcard. I've got some cute designs. We're going to talk about combining. We're going to talk about a little bit of graphics to combine so you can make it look old and things like that. And then we're going to go into where to print, how to set it up, how to go through the whole process, what type of paper to print for postcards, and we'll show you how to do your own. You can do anything, baseball, ACEO cards, things like that too, non-sports of your own designs. We're going to talk something about, as well, public domain that you can use that are known characters where you can use the known names to draw business to your own items. So just FYI. I will, though, if I can remember, show some buttons because there's a lot to it, but there is some good money to be made in buttons. You know, I'm talking 10, 20 times my investment I'm going to get back out of, and I've spent thousands on buttons. I've got roughly 160 pounds. We weighed it, so I've got 160 pounds of nothing but brass, vintage uniforms. The newest is probably some really nice World War II, like Machine Gun Corps from British Army, things like that. They're all good ones. Most of the U.S. are World War I or before, and a ton of Victorian era stuff, U.S. buttons, Civil War buttons, pre-Civil War buttons. You're going to get to see some. I might put a video together just to show you the art that's involved in these things. Most people don't have a clue, and I thought, you know, buttons, it's a joke. Who's going to really collect those? But after I got into it and realized all the aspects of it, it's really cool. I have to say, I've been into buttons since I've met my wife. Me and my wife used to go to see a guy named Boyd the Button Man, and he lived near Orlando area. I think he has passed, but he introduced me and the wife into vintage buttons, and ever since, again, we're talking 20, 23, 24 years ago, ever since then I've been hooked on them. For money wise, one shirt button, you get the right ones, worth $4,000 or better. So it's almost equates to like records values, where they're, you know, a lot of stuff can go for decent money anyway, I should say. There's a lot to know. I've got 1,000 plus in just books, and I've got 10 or 12 sites that I use to know monarchy. I just love the history that's tied to those. I know I've kind of veered off topic for a minute here, but you should look into it. I mean, because it's an incredible field, and a lot of people haven't a clue. And I've watched people walk by stuff that's worth a lot of money just because they thought, who's going to want a button? Who's going to pay a lot of money for a button? I sell them all the time for 100 plus, constantly. You know, so. I know I went off on a tangent. Let's get back on here. Kilroy, how are you doing? Sunday, fun day, Pamela Sabana. Hopefully I pronounced you correctly. Welcome to the show. Mr. Sanders, how are you doing? Michelle with 1L, good evening. Back again. Are you a collector? Good evening. The background is very fitting for your title of the auction professor. I like... there was a place, me and the wife lived in Virginia, and it had like a whole wall of shelves, and the other walls were brick, inside brick, and it was really cool, and I've always liked that look. I would have a wall in an office that looked just like that. You know, I'd have to have a record player on it, and this doesn't have one, but, you know, it'd be just like I would put together probably. A different kind of books probably, but, and we have a child's desk like that our kids used when they were small, to do their homework. I mean, we had 2 of them, one for each kid, and their room was, we lived in an old house, and the room was huge. It was this monstrous size room, so it fit in there very well. Old house and all, but anyway. Thank you, though. Are you a collector? Hey, Karen, how are you doing this evening? M. Quattro, good evening. Need to sell everything in your house. You won't have any place to sleep. There's Annie. How are you doing, Annie? And right below, Carl, working while I listen. Hope you're well. Yeah, everything is going very well. I'm really surprised. I mean, financial wise, I've never been in a better spot right now, and I'm not trying to make light or be, all about myself. It's just this is what it is. It's what's going on. I'm pretty open on that kind of stuff. Naked and Laughing, how are you doing? I just found 2 Hemingway green insulators at Goodwill today. Gonna put on eBay tonight. I hope they do good. There's different varieties, so just make sure you check it out. There should be some numbers or some marks on those. There's even a site that will date them for you. The older the better, usually what I find. I did get some, maybe I've shown a few too. I got some Telegraph Line, the wooden inserts as well as some of the casing and wooden covers for the glass ones. The old days, the glass ones that you see sometimes had wood covers over them to protect them from like limbs hitting them or something. And then the wire went inside, and then there is a plug, like a wooden plug or something on the inside too. We've actually yanked some of those off a old telegraph line on her family's property years back, 20 years ago maybe, right after, well, a few years after I met my wife. And they had been there forever. They could have been, 140 years old, maybe even at that time. We don't know, but, they were sitting there on private land. So, yard sale this weekend here in Ohio, everything $1. Of course, I have to work. That's a shame. You never know. Edwin Zalea, good evening. Wubba lubba dub dub, how are you doing? Hudson Resell, how are you doing as well? A lot of Hudsons, so that's probably your name, my guess would be. Michelle with 1L, yeah, I would say if you're talking about the amount of stuff available right now, Wubba lubba dubba, we're about 200% last year, which was our best year, and we've been established since 2012. That's very good. I would be so far up had I just been, doing one specific thing and stuff. We don't have any people listing hardly, so I'm not getting nearly as many listings as I have up. Of course, I'm not really worried about it because everything's still rolling pretty well. If I need some extra money or something, which isn't the case now, but if I did, I've got, high dollar stuff I could just throw up. I've got some really nice, like 1890s beer posters. They're fairly large. I think I showed one or two on the Instagram feed last month, but really nice stuff that I just don't see very often. Again, I save some of that for fourth quarter because I'll get more money for all that stuff. Something I may be able to sell now for $750, I may get $950 to $1,000 at the end of the year. You just got to play it by ear. Of course, if you need the money now, obviously you do what you got to do, and it depends on how much money you have invested into it. So, you just play the game on time frame. I don't really care what I list at any time. So, I have no preference. I don't have to list something I just got. Even if I spend some money, I could just let it set here for a couple months before I, make a decision on what I want to do with it. We're still going with the Shopify. I've recorded a lot of stuff. I just haven't had time to edit it. Once the employees come in, they'll probably finish, one of them will at least finish editing all the Shopify videos. And probably the last little bit on the Weebles videos. So just FYI. Gary in Daytona. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be sourcing. I saw somebody sent me a couple links for videos of people sourcing with masks and all that stuff on. I'm a little hesitant. I don't need to source. As I said, I got more than I've ever had, and I've got stuff on the floor, which I never do unless I'm just over flooded, and we're flooded with merchandise. So I'm not going to be rushing to source. I usually wouldn't spend $4,000 or $5,000 on like buttons and things like that, but when it's cheap and it's in front of you, you got the money. Who cares if you don't have the means to list it? It's a retirement, whatever you want to call it. It's an investment. It's stuff that's never gone down since I've played in those fields. I can't tell you when we haven't made good money on it. Every one I've ever showed in a video, we made excellent profits, 10, 15 times investment back out of those kind of things, 20 times even, many times. So, it just depends. Okay, Carolina Picks, how are you doing? I appreciate the $5 super chat. Again, very, very kind of you to do that. So, you don't have to do that. I know everything's tight for people, so I honestly, sincerely appreciate that. Now it won't let me off the screen. Hang on, there we go. Sorry about that. Thanks again. I almost said your real name. I am sorry. Appreciate that. Let's see, where are we at now? Dave C. Completely agree. Once people get used to doing something, they continue doing it later. That's what I say about online buying. A lot of people who are older, their only choices was to go online, and they had plenty of time to learn how to do everything. So I think it's going to be a big plus for those of us in the online reselling industry. Again, this is like the perfect work from home job you could have in 2020 in my book. Art career would be good for somebody. I don't have the ability to be, all art at this point, but, there's enough, side jobs people can do to, be a reseller and something else on the side. Do your own business and market your services as well, whether you consult or do web pages and then resell the rest of the time. The whole point of it is to have a goal and to do what you like to do and not have to work for somebody else. Control your own destiny, I guess I should say. Let's see here. Carl, my local live auction actually ran their Wednesday auction yesterday. They had a ton of great stuff, and I didn't... Hang on, I want to read that one here. Ton of great stuff, and I didn't go. Wanted too bad, but my wife wasn't cool with it. Figured I could make out. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I have no time making packing. It's nuts. Up 118% from this time last year. My numbers are all over the place right now. I can't judge because I had employees last year, so it's a little hard to judge for me. But we're up like 100 and some odd percent, so I'm not really worried. I'm not worried at all, let's say, about sales at this point. I have no concern. I used to worry about stuff like that, but nowadays I have no, even with what's going on, I was worried before all this started thinking, oh my God, it's going to tank. But then, man, it's been in the opposite direction, and not by a small amount, but by a huge amount for most everybody that I talk to. Obviously, the only drawback for most people is they can't source, so they may not be, taking advantage of the increase in sales. Yeah, Carl, though I completely understand. My wife would feel the same way. Super chat war. Well, thank you, Carl, for the $10 super chat. I honestly and sincerely do appreciate that from everybody. I don't even pay attention, and I know I don't call it out until somebody does it, and then I remember that I have it. But yeah, thank you very kindly, Carl. Yeah, I think it's going to be a roller coaster ride for most of it. I think it's going to be a fast-paced, lot of stuff coming and going. Man, I could do a lot of moves in my store, and we get a ton of opportunities to send offers to watchers, and I have to say that that's still a positive, 100% great thing to do. I sold offers to watchers yesterday, like 19, and we only had at that point I think only 153. So that's a pretty good percentage when you look at the numbers. It's 10% or so. I think that would be, that's over that actually. So yeah, that's actually really good. And that's been my average. So, and I'm not worried. We mark stuff up on certain categories, so the money's there. I'm still making more than the average person selling the exact same basic items. That's the point. Don't give it away. Don't lower your prices too much because, again, you're going to crush the market. If everybody kept them in a certain point where they should be, and those stray people wouldn't be coming in and putting stuff up not knowing what they're doing, that's sometimes what crushes some categories when people dump it with, low-end prices on good stuff. Haban Ugas. Yeah, I don't do anything mentoring like that at all. I've had so many offers. I don't do that at all. Auction apprentices. Well, thank you, Aaron. It's exciting to think of all the stuff out there to buy, but deaths are much higher than when lockdown started, and going out for non-essential reasons is detrimental to all. Sorry to be... No, I completely agree with you. That's why I said I'm not going out to any of these events. I don't have any plans to source, locally or anything like that at all. I could probably go to the end of the year and still not worry at all, just with the hookups that I do have. And anything I do bring in sets in the garage for several days, so I'm not going to, even touch it. I don't even have to worry about touching it right away. And then we bring it in, so it's not setting out. But, I'm in no rush to go out. And Annie is right. This is the time when a second wave can come just because of people gathering again. I know they're letting them only so many people in, and masks and gloves and all that sort of thing, but it's still not 100% foolproof, and one person can spread it to dozens. It only takes one person to get it in one area to be in a big tight confined space to spread it to everybody. Mask or not. Somebody sneezes and you're wearing the wrong mask. Anyway. Michelle with 1L down. How do you go about asking for inventory on Facebook? I'm nervous about asking people for items. How would you word it? I don't word anything like that at all. I wouldn't want to recommend something that, because I don't do that. You could put I buy vintage items or something like that. I mean, that'd be about the best of it. But on Facebook or on Craigslist, I just look for what other people are selling and leave it at that. I know there's people who live by posting ads and stuff, but if somebody's at least posted an ad on Craigslist or Facebook, they have to have an account at least, so there at least is some information. If I post an ad and some random person contacts me, it's a little more sketchy from some of the experiences I've personally had to deal with and things that I've seen. So I don't try to do anything like those random ones. And as I said, if I do meet or do something, it's almost always I used to do it at the library, but obviously they're closed in the lobby, but we go to the police department. There's a section where they've said we could meet when we want. It's got a camera from two different angles when you're sitting there, and it's right. It's not like directly in front of the police department, but it's within I can hit the door with a rock real easily. That's how close it is, and it's on city property, police department property even. It's where they store some of the vehicles at. But anyway, the bee's knees treasures. Hello. Let me pop back up here. Yeah, they are trying. I get Gary in Daytona. It's. I don't want to discourage either side of the argument, because for those who have no money coming in or have no way to sell or do anything, I don't know where you draw the line on that one. So I'm not going to touch on that one at all. I got it from both ends. I personally am not going out unless I have to. I wear a mask. I wear gloves. I wash my hands immensely after I get home. I don't touch my face. I don't do anything like that. I am very, very careful. This is just going to the store, and that's about all I have done. The store, the post office, gas station. That's it. Yeah, that is it. Because I met at the grocery store for picking up, and the rest of the stuff has been mailed here. I'd rather pay the extra mail. I figure with the amount of gas I'm not using right now, the shipments, who cares, Even if I get a whole bunch of different shipments in, I'm fine with that. Gary Smith, how are you doing? Thank you very kindly, Gary. Yeah, and Annie is correct on the history. I did look into that, and I have talked about that before. There were 3 waves in 1918. Second wave, even our scientists right here in the current government, and again, the doctors, the scientist, Fauci, I think is his name is, or something like that. He's worked for both administrations, so he is not like one or the other. He's just a doctor. He says that the second wave could be far worse, and we could expect a lot more. They raised the death rates once they opened up. If you notice, the death rates went up when you open up, because again, there's more chance of it being spread again. I could see a second lockdown, truthfully, but again, it's not going to hurt the business as far as what I sell, because again, what I sell is stuff that's for people with extra money, basically. Again, and we've engineered our business in this way, again, because it doesn't slow down in the summer. It doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. I don't have to wait on things. I don't get feedback. I don't get returns. Like if I sell action figures, loose or newer action figures or something, it's usually somebody younger, and I almost always have to wait for it. The cases I open up the most of, and I almost never have to open up a case, unpaid item case, are usually stuff that go to younger people. And no disrespect at all. I mean, it is like comic books. Sometimes if I have offers on comic books, those are the type of items that I usually have to open a case on. Military items, they pay right away. Collectibles like the vintage postal items, those people pay right away. They want those items. Baseball card collectors, they want the items. And I know that's age doesn't matter in that area though, but people who collect that want those stuff. There's certain categories that I stray away from sometimes if they're cheaper items and stuff, because it's just stuff that I tend to not get paid for right away is what I see. Anyway, let's see, where are we at? If you like the conversation, please hit the thumbs up button down below. We get the haters every time. I see there's already quite a few. If I post it out before the video goes up to my own pages, I get more thumbs down than if I don't do that. So people watch my page just so they can come here and click it, because it happens right after I post the links. I mean, I can almost time it. So somebody gets the notice and then boom, they do it. I don't know what you get out of that, but you know, more power to you, I guess. If I don't like somebody's video, I just don't watch it. I could care less about wasting my time on clicking a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But I get that constantly. I don't get it, but, you know. Steve Van Shooten, how are you doing? Well, thank you very kindly. Let's see, what did I miss something? Do you have business cards to give potential inventory suppliers? Yes, I do, Kilroy. Yeah, I did show that sign. I think I know what you're talking about there. I moved to the side so you can see it. Let's see here. Murray, how are you doing, Murray Zuckerman? Ridge Hill Jilly, good evening. Doing good on our end. Estate sales in my area are doing things online for the most part, and then we go and pick it up at scheduled times. I think that is a smart way to handle it. I don't know how you do it fair unless it's just an auction for an estate sale. Because how are you going to let one person look first? I don't know how that would work. I don't know. That would be my concern. And yeah, I can't see it, so. The Path, well, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. I honestly, sincerely appreciate that as well. For some reason, it didn't show that one. If you didn't get the managed payment, you might be in the last group that goes in October, I think. I've already had people tell me they have a different date than I have. I have a July 19th or something like that date. I've already had people give me dates in October for managed payments. So that, as I said, I've said this before, they have been staggering this out since last year, I think. You could, randomly apply if you wanted. And then they've been staggering them out, giving out emails, here and there, and doing it in groups so they're not flooded, because you got to type in banking information. I would imagine somewhere down the line something, whether it's a person, which I doubt they could use, but somewhere down the line they have to compare all your data. So if you don't have an email from them, I wouldn't worry about it. If you really want it, you can email them and ask if you can sign up for it. Chances are they probably won't. I've had some people who asked to do it just to get it done with, and they were told not to worry about it. They don't have the ability or whatever the case may be to do it now. So I wouldn't worry until you get the email. I have been told on one of the pages, though, by someone at eBay that there were some emails that didn't go out. Again, if you're worried, just email them or give them a call. Anchor support, I can call them still. I had somebody tell me you can't call eBay. You can call eBay if you have an Anchor store. I don't know what level you still can call, but I called him the other day. Mike, thank you, pointed that out, that you could do that again. For a little while, you couldn't call unless, I don't think you could call at all. I couldn't even call Anchor store, but now I can call. And it routes your calls to someone's house. They probably have a network. If it doesn't go to one person, it goes to another or something. Maybe it's a digital web-based phoning system that they have. Obviously those exist if you didn't know it, but. Let's see here. Kenny Nofel, Grumbacher soft pastels. I love Grumbacher pastels. Are good. I do pastel work too. I've probably shown you me purchasing pastels before too. I've got a whole bunch of them. I don't sell any of those stuff. There's a lot of money in art supplies. Just the paper I use, I could probably get $60 for this tablet, these pads that I use all the time. And I got them used somewhere, not used, but NOS from a sale myself. I would take the mounts if you find something naked and laughing for anything like the insulators. Just personal opinion. I take everything, and then if it's no good, I'll just throw it away. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, Gary leaves it, wears gloves, yep, and then leaves it setting for a while. Dave C., you probably get several more managed payment reminders. You can also enroll on eBay dashboard if you wanted to for some reason. I'm waiting. I was stuck doing it, so I can't judge on that at all. Donations to Goodwill has been crazy. The line of cars for donations was super long today. Wow. When are you and Charles Lowe? That I'm not gonna know on. Don't know what we're gonna do or what I'm gonna do with other channels at all. I'm not sure which direction I'm going at. Garen, I'm glad to hear it. Everyone should be as safe as they can. We've been getting donations into our Goodwill since they were closed, but the shelves are just as bare before they closed. Yeah, I don't go to thrift stores hardly ever around here. It's just not worth my time. I've done some videos. Once in a blue moon, when one just opened up, it was good. But once they blew out all the good stuff, they never got any other good stuff in to replace it. So I don't go any of those places anymore. That's why I say I have to sell what I can get, and I don't get what most people can. Like, I can't get, open boxes. I don't want to buy pallets like that, personally. There are some pallets that I will buy, but not stuff like that. I don't like returns. I don't like clothing. I don't want to mess with electronics. I love the vintage. So for me, I've got my sources, and it works best for me. Whatever works for somebody else. The biggest thing you need is to be tough in this industry. You got to have some discipline. If you're not disciplined in what you're doing, working from home is just not going to work for somebody. And that goes in with sourcing and whatever you do in the business. You have to have the discipline and be tough enough to handle this. And I know people say there's nothing to it, but I work long hours. I had 12+ hour days these days, at least every day of the week pretty much lately. Mile Better Lawn Service, how are you doing? Hey Cornelius, how are you doing this evening? Let me slide down. Hopefully my feed doesn't hang on, let me bop back up here because my feed just disappeared. Hang on, where are we? I'm sorry, my feed's gone. Yeah, I'm bad. I don't like to say names because if I start on names, I might do it for somebody else who might not like me using their names. I've got quite a few people who've asked just for initials or first names. So if you watch the end credits, all of the patrons, there's some that don't want their name mentioned. So I kind of hesitant to start doing it for one and not do it for the other. So I don't want to mess up and say something I shouldn't. Just I like to be extra careful. I know who you are. It starts with a D, so just FYI. Saul, how are you doing today? The Goodwill's closed, but people keep dumping their stuff in front of the Goodwill. The police said it wasn't illegal if you go through it because it's considered trash. Wow, huh? I don't know if I'd want to risk going through it, though. Saw my sales are down considerably due to lack of inventory. That's why I said that's the only... It's either you got a bunch of stuff and you're doing great, or you can't list anymore and you can't grow your inventory. So that could be a big issue, of course. Any word if eBay will extend the 50,000 free listings? My guess is they probably will, but who knows? I would say they're probably having really good sales numbers. And with them, with the managed payment, they're making a huge increase in money. Maybe this will show them that maybe they should just give away listings to begin with. You know, if they're not losing any money, let's say at the end of the year, they didn't collect this extra money, because I'm saving hundreds of dollars a month right now by those 50,000 free listings. I pay the $300 or $290, whatever it is, $299.95 a month fee, and then I was paying for another 17,000 listings at 5 cents a piece. I'm not paying any of that money. So if at the end of the year they come out far ahead, I would hope that their brain would say, hey, well, look, we did far better giving away a whole bunch of listings. You know, it just makes no sense not to do that in my book, because Amazon is going, you know, that's all they do. Everything you can list, I can list as many items as I want for my $39.99. And if you don't have a store, you can still do the Amazon listings. You just pay $1 extra when it sells, as long as it's not something you need approval in. Home goods and books you can list without having approval. As soon as you get approval on Amazon, you have to have the business account. So when it's $39.99, like I've said before, online live auctions are kind of a pain and can be risky when you can't touch. I don't like to buy stuff I can't touch. But I have to say I scored a great lot that came today. It was like Xmas. You never know, but I honestly always try to see it in person. I do like to touch it. I say that all the time. I would rather pass on something and take the chance on seeing something in person later on, because I hate to buy something sight unseen. So much of what you see online has been looked through already. So I don't like to buy someone else's leftovers. Even around here, like if I pass on say a 2,000 or 3,000 or a 5,045 lot, I am going to have at least 2 or 3 other people probably call me and say, hey, they got a huge lot of records. And a couple days later, one person will buy it, who after I pass, somebody else will buy it. They'll pick out what they want. They'll probably call around or do a post. I'll have to figure out if it's them. They'll sell it to somebody else what's left, or that person may pick out some more, and then I'll get another call. And that happens so many times. That's why sometimes in the past I've thrown out 78 records so I didn't get a call again. Because one time I just finally fed up. After like the 4th or 5th time people were trying to peddle the same ones I've already looked through a month or two ago, it just wasn't worth my hassle anymore. Anyway, long story short, I'm a process moving, so selling a lot on Facebook and keeping stuff for after move, but still selling a lot of stuff with only 1,100 listed. It's not a bad amount. You can make a living off just a few items, in all honesty, if you have the right items. I've had a lot of luck doing the online auction, but since it's local, they offer us to go inspect the items in person, then bid, then pick up once the auction closes after 7 days. No lack of inventory here, bee's knees. I have no lack of inventory. Andrew Campbell had it and was horrible. I haven't gone in and had the test because they're not doing the tests. You can get a free test locally here. Only one place I know of. The line was long, but it's not. They're only testing if you have it now, and there's no sense. I'm not sick now. We were sick when this first started. Unless they can, it's an antibody test. There's no sense in us checking it out, because I think we probably had it. My son was really sick for like 11 or 12 days with like 102 plus fever. He had 103 for a few days. And, you know, they told us to stay away from the hospital because the hospitals were flooded at that point. But no one says bless you anymore. They run, Aaron. Yeah, that may be the case. Pretty sure I had it too, Andrew, the end of January. My mom was worse off than me and was in the hospital for 3 days. Was on my deathbed for sure. I got you with the 2. Yeah, that's why I said the flu's going to be going around too, so it's a bad timing, of course. I started listing vintage magazine ads for sale, and after I did that, my sales in all other categories plummeted. I wouldn't think that would have anything to do with your sales, in my opinion, in other categories. It just wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, no rocks. Well, thank you, Michelle, with 1L. This is great if you're already a germaphobe. And I know some people who are. They get paranoid just going out in public and touching things now. Very, very bad. I need to move to found our dream home last year and must sell our Maryland home ASAP. I have so many gorgeous antiques, new with tag items, but too heavy to sell on eBay. We're in a rural area. M. Quattro. Hillbilly Picker, how are you doing? Well, thank you very kindly. Sincerely Lavender. What are your thoughts of sponsoring your listings? I don't do any sponsored. I don't use it at all. I've talked about that. I was the one who exposed eBay's ad blocker on that. And I have a sour taste in my mouth. I talked video conference with eBay over that, all the department heads. I even talked to the person who's in charge of that whole program, who put it out there, and I'm not happy with their answers. I won't do them again. And I don't have any ill effects in my sales whatsoever. The only promotions I do are sales and markdown, which is something you do when you don't give eBay an extra dime at all. You just go to the marketing tab and sales and the marketing part at the top. Don't do the promotions. I won't pay eBay for that again. I still don't like that left to right scrolling or any of that other stuff that they tried to avoid. I don't think those versions of it are blockable to some extent. Now, yeah, I can block them if I really want to, but I don't think just randomly it does it. I'm still not going to pay for it. I'd scan right past all that new stuff they got out there. There is one thing that they added which I do like. If you noticed, and I don't know when this happened, but I know it wasn't too long ago, when you're scrolling down at items on eBay, it tells you who the seller is right there with, everything. The way it tells you, it just, they set it up differently. I like the way it looks now compared to how it did. Just FYI. Dr. Phil, how do you know their age? I'm not sure what we're talking about on age. Thumbs down are all the people who don't rock eBay like Don. Well, thank you. There's enough haters out there in the world. I don't know what the deal, but that's what there are. I moved across country in November, did the same. Sold all my large items on Facebook, packed up my whole eBay store, took months. Facebook Marketplace works well, but lots of messaging and confusion. I got you there, Charles. Sincerely, Lavender. Maybe because they have funky millennial first names, laugh out loud. Industrial Crow, how are you doing? He's got July. He, she, I'm sorry. Haven't even received the email. I wouldn't worry if you haven't received it yet. Again, they are doing it in stages, so who knows what part you're on. By the end of 2020, December, the majority of all sellers are going to be on the program. They wanted it where everybody's on the same program so they can collect all the money. They want the extra money. Let's see here. Katie, I'm worried that it will be difficult to understand the new managed payment system. I struggle as is. It's not going to be difficult. We have it on one store already. Let's see here. I'm thinking they're moving the bigger stores over earlier so they have more time to correct everything. That would be my guess. So probably if you're a smaller store, newer, I would say that would probably be later on towards the end of the year. I would rather do it in July than I would in October, November. I'd rather do it now than wait till, right into fourth quarter personally. If there's an issue, I'd rather them find it now. It's the only reason I said if I'm going to be forced into it and I have no choice, I just went ahead and did it right away and signed up and gave them all the information. I'm done with it. I don't have to worry about it. It's going to happen. Nothing I can do about it. I haven't had issues in the other store, but again, I don't do the same thing. So, Flipping goodies, anyone can call. I did not know that. I've had other people tell me they haven't been able to call. I'm getting the emails, and I'm going to hold out as long as I can because I have coins for sale and want them all sold before I am forced to switch over. If you get the email, you don't get switched over to the end of July. So even if you follow through and give them the information now, they're going to tell you ahead of time and give you the date that it will be turned on. And you have to that date regardless. I wouldn't personally wait, because you have to give them banking information and they've got to check it out and get back and all this other stuff. So I would just personally get it done in case it gets backed up at the end, because everybody wants to wait. That's just my take on it. They've had this running for over a year, and the only issues I hear have been some payment issues and things like that with length of time. If you don't care how quickly the money comes in, you're not going to have a problem from what I would see. I mean, because I haven't had any issues other than that. I got 2 mails so far. I would look into the... Hey, Carlene, how are you doing this evening? Oh, Annie says, yeah, that button. They used to have a button that you could ask to sign up. She's telling me now that it's not letting you even click anymore. Maybe they're waiting until after this group gets in there, and then they're going to worry about it. I'm not sure. I would not sell coins hidden, Dr. Full, because if it's against Apple or whoever, Aiden, whoever's policy is affecting it, you could be fined if they fine eBay. And who knows what that fine could be. So I wouldn't try to list anything that's not allowed. The coin thing bothers me because tokens falls under coins. But I don't see why I shouldn't, because it says currency, and a token isn't currency. It just happens to be in that category. So if it's a token, I'm just going to list them in historical sections, again, because it is not currency legally wise. Unless they're going to broadly define it, and they have to be specific. A token is not coins. It just happens to unfortunately be tied into the coin and currency category, which is sad. Yeah, we've pulled out... Diggeth us. We've pulled out our adult books too, but I still haven't gotten them up. I'm still debating. I did call eBay and ask on that. Their goal is to allow everybody to sell them through some setup they're trying to figure out. But, you know, I wouldn't hold your breath that they're going to be able to come out with an option for anybody who's stuck already on managed payments. That would mean you'd have to have a secondary backup, which they would have to add back in. And I wonder on that. I personally would think it would be an easy enough thing to do. Why they haven't done that to begin with, I don't understand. To force PayPal payment only on certain items makes perfect sense. It's perfectly doable by a common cash register can do that. A perfect example would be state lottery tickets. You can't pay with anything but cash, and a register can determine payment just even in that basics. You know, there'd be no problem in adding in PHP or some kind of code to do it for eBay. No doubt in my mind at all. Let me slide down. My feed might disappear. Hang on, my feed is frozen again. Okay, I left them at Goodwill, but I really don't think they went together. Yeah, I would take it with you every time, naked and laughing. Whatever's there, just throw it away if it's not. You'd be surprised. Some of the time they look like dowels, threaded wooden dowels, and they're just part of the post holding for those. Dr. Fly was in a thrift store today. Nuts. Yeah, I'm not going to be rushing out. I got about 145 people on my end. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. At least show some love if you're enjoying the conversation. Goodwill here in Ohio was nuts. Too many people. Nobody following rules. Yeah, that's why I'm not in a rush to go. Everybody's going to be bombarding all the stores around here. And when I go to the grocery store, I go as soon as they're up. As soon as they open up, I'm there the minute they open just to get in and get out. You know, I'm not a big crowd person, even when this wasn't going on. I'm not like paranoid. I just not a big crowd person these days. Yeah, let me slide down and let's hope it's moving now. Yeah, the last live show I did, I wanted to just say this out there. In the last 5 minutes, Digicus86 or some iDub or something, iDubus or something like that, some other channel who's got like millions of subscribers, their show, when his show ended, and my son seen this guy, it's some huge channel, they dumped a bunch of people onto our channel in the last 5 minutes. In the last 5 minutes of my last channel live show, I got 1,000 people on the live feed for just a matter of the last few minutes. I didn't know what was going on. I'm glad I ended it when I did, because they all thumbs down why they were over here, and they all are making, I had to delete a whole bunch of comments why that happened. I mean, obviously it was some huge channel. They came from coming down to my little channel, and I was flooded the last minute. I didn't even realize it, as I said, until I was going off. So hopefully that doesn't happen again, because that was a little nerving with all the comments that were left. Hang on, my feed's bouncing all over. There we go. Goodwill here in Virginia was still closed today, but I think it'll check and see what people dropped off. Got a clean Wii and VCR is all. Just stuff that I'll sell fast. Ours opened up last week here in Ohio. I haven't even looked. Yes, you have to self-discipline, keep a schedule, get up, get dressed, and make every Saturday a day you hit a certain place, etc. I do it on the weekdays or whatever. I don't do any specifics like that. Let's see here. What is my schedule like? I'm up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock most days. I don't go to bed till midnight or later, and if I don't get something finished, you know, it's a lot of work. And I say you have to be tough, and I'm not saying I'm like some tough person, but you got to be tough. You got to not worry about stuff. Who cares what the naysayers say? You know, my book is there's only 24 hours in a day, and I want to get the most out of my hours. I only sleep, 5 hours most of the time, 6 if I'm sleeping in. If you waste an hour, you're losing an hour of time, and there's never enough time. Time is always the factor, that I see with what's going on. Time is always my deciding factor. Other things to think about. When I'm thinking about my plans, I never think small. I'm always thinking some massive thing. I want to be doing $1 million. I want to do this. Who cares if you hit that? Well, obviously you want to hit the number, but the point is to set yourself a goal when you're doing this full time, to set yourself some vision, a goal that you want to get to, something to work towards, some reason why you're doing this, to make this more of a challenge, to make it more of a full-fledged real business. Not just to say, hey, I want to get some money in and make it. If you're doing this and this is what you want to do for your living, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is what I plan to do for the rest of my life. I morph it, I do it, but I've got a vision for 20 years from now, what I'm going to be doing, what I want to do. I know what I want to do next year. I know what I want to do in 5 years from here. And until you get that thought in your head that, this is what I'm going to do, once let's put it this way, once you get that mindset that, I'm going to think big, I'm going to take this to $1 million, being so positive about it, your image, your feelings about it should hopefully improve to a point where, working the hours are going to be what drives you and gets you to that vision. Working the long hours. I don't know anybody who's been successful who didn't work a heck of a lot, and I mean a lot. 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. Everybody that I personally know that's doing well has done that for years. Eventually you get a payday where you don't have to do it as long. You don't have to work as much. You can back off of it. But to get to that point, it's tough. It's a lot of work, and you have to 100% be dedicated to this and to understand that this isn't some little sideshow anymore. This isn't a side hustle. If you're doing this for your business, this is your life. This is your business. This is how you're going to survive. This is how you're going to put in money for retirement. This is how you're going to pay for your insurance. This is how you're going to feed your kids, put a roof over your head. This is how you're going to be successful. You're gonna have a goal set. You're gonna have whatever it is, and don't make it some small goal. Next week I want to do $200 more in sales. I want to do 1,000 more next week. If I don't hit it, I'll just work a little harder the week after that, and keep working and working and working and working. If that's your goal, we did 1,000 last night just in the store that we share with you. I would have never, in my wildest dreams, 6, 7, 8 years ago, thought we could ever do that much routinely on a day. In just one day, I need a little extra money, I'll send out some sale, whatever. The opportunity is there. How you go after it, I guess, is where you're going to make it or break it. And if you don't have the gumption, the ability to just jump in and give it a shot, I mean, you're never going to make it. I never thought this would be possible, ever in my wildest dreams. I never thought that this would be something that I could do full time and not have to do it. I thought when we started that I would always be worrying about where the next, bunch of money's going to come in. Where am I going to pay my next bill? How am I going to do it? I thought for sure we'd barely be living paycheck to paycheck, but I gave it a chance. I risked everything to do this. I risked, the livelihood, our family, everything to do this because I said, I'm either going to go big and we're going to be successful or we're going to fail and we're going to fail hard. I threw all the cards out on the table. True, this is exactly what I thought. I thought we're either going to be screwed at the end of this or we're going to go somewhere because I'm not going to let go of the gas until we either have no more gas left in us or we're successful. And, the latter happened. We're successful at what we're doing because, again, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. The naysayers, I could care less. The people who thumb down it, who cares? They're the ones missing out. The people who don't see what there is and the options for doing this. Working from home. There used to be work from home jobs ads for those. And those were all like scams, stuffing envelopes and stuff like that. That's what work from home used to be. And it has a stigma still this day. People still think stuff like that from it. And when you tell people I do my own business and I resell, people think it's just a flash in the pan and this and that. We've been doing it for more than 20 years. That's not just some flash in the pan. More and more retailers are doing it. So, they're following us now, Look at Joe Rogan. And I know this is related to YouTube to some extent, but the whole online atmosphere, he's doing his own thing. It's the Joe Rogan show. It's not the CBS Joe Rogan show. It's the Joe Rogan show. He did it on his own. I mean, again, I'm just throwing that out there that anything is possible. He never thought somebody's going to offer him $100 million. And of course, Spotify made $5 billion in stocks from doing that. So again, they had a goal, and that's what happened with it. But who knows what's possible? I'm not going to write off anything. 10 years ago, I would have never thought we could be a millionaire. But nowadays, it's well within my reach. It's more within my reach right now than any other time I could ever possibly imagine, beyond belief. I looked at my year, my total sales on eBay, and I don't want to holler it out, but it's huge. It's more than I could have ever dreamed of selling on anything. And anything's possible, I guess I should say. It's what you put into this, how much work you want to invest in it. I know there's a lot of people that can't do all the extra work or work in other jobs. That's completely understandable. Don't ever give up something that's making you steady money, that's paying your bills, unless you know that it's going to go somewhere. Again, I didn't have much of a choice. I figured throw my cards in and let's go with it. I wouldn't have quit a job unless I had enough money coming in. I may have worked full-time job and then full-time on the side every hour, waking hour I could to get the secondary business to a point where I could quit my full-time job and then fill in the gaps from there. But I wouldn't recommend somebody just quitting a job. Right now is a good time if you don't have the job to do something like this, if you have the abilities money-wise. I mean, I can't express enough how thankful I am how everything went in this time. I just can't. I'm at loss for words. It's that much of a difference, and I'm not making $1 million a year or anything like that, but I see it coming. I honestly see it coming, and I'm just shocked. And I'm not, it's not a brag. It's not me trying to be some big conceited person, because I'm not a conceited person at all. I could care less what I look like or anything like that. I wear the same shirts because they're comfortable. I could care less what's on them. I love the shirts. But the point of it is that anybody has a potential to do this if you dig in. And I've failed a lot of times. I've messed up a lot. I've lost money buying stuff. Not anymore, but I mean, we did it for a very long time. And I've worked through it, and we've learned from those lessons. If you keep doing it and you don't learn, you're in the wrong field. If you don't realize that this is going to take a lot of work and a lot of hours, you're in the wrong field. If you don't realize, again, I'll go back to it, that you have to have discipline and a schedule and treat this like it's a business. Put on a business hat. Wear something different when you're doing the business, if that's what it takes. Put on work clothes so it feels like you're doing something. I knew somebody who actually went and sat in his car and would drive down sometimes too to the convenience store, buy a coffee, come back, and then start working like he was going to a location. If that's what it takes to get it in your head that, you can't slack off. Far too many people do this and just they're at home, they goof off too much. They want to watch something on TV. I don't watch much until it's bedtime. And if I fall asleep watching stuff, that's the end of the night. I don't do any of that stuff till all of my day's done, till I don't think I can produce any more good work at the end of the day. 12 hours is usually what I try at the most to do. That's what it's gonna, and I don't need to do that, but I'm again, I got that goal in my head, and I'm not gonna stop until I get to that goal. If I knew a shortcut, I'd probably take it, of course, but there is no shortcut other than hard work. A lot of it, you got to just keep hammering this. I don't know how else to say. I mean, people ask mentors. I get asked that a question probably 3 or 4 times every day of the week these days. My mailbox for the auction professor is flooded. There's probably 120, 130 emails in there just from the last couple days of people wanting stuff or this, that. I don't even have time to even think about that. The best mentoring I can give everybody is to put in as much time as you can afford to into this. You're going to fail. You're going to learn from what you made, the mistakes. Unless you're able to fail sometimes, you're not going to learn. You're not going to understand things. You're going to slack off on things. You're going to not take it as serious because it's not, you're not working for somebody else and they're not a stickler. You need to be a stickler. My dog's down here, excuse me. You need to be a stickler with your business. You need to take every little aspect of it seriously. You need to pack everything properly. You need no shortcuts. No shortcuts in this. There's no shortcuts in this industry at all. Don't take any shortcuts in anything you do. Just take it 100% seriously. Have a game face for when you're doing business and have your personal life separate. Be able to turn the switch off when you're done for the day. If you want to do something and this is your whole life, you've got the ability to do all that kind of stuff, You shouldn't have, confine yourself to just doing this. And you should be able to take time off if that's what you need to do. But that shouldn't be every day, or all your goals would be just to take time off and do stuff like that. Hang on, I'm just making sure. It looks like I have a few frame drops. But again, that's what you got to consider with doing this. I don't want to ramble on. Let's get to some more questions. I know I got off topic there, but, that's my take on this. Anybody can do this. Again, as we approach a massive amount of revenue a year, it grows every year. It grows every single year. The amount of money we sell, the platforms, everything. I just, I'm lost for words. I really am. I just wish everybody could experience the difference of not having to be anywhere, anytime, day, night, anything. Not having the relief, the lack of fear of losing your job or anything. It's relieving, to say the least. Every morning I get up. I'll just leave it at that. I'm still rambling, I know. Let's see here. Goodwill in North Carolina opened, but I stopped going to them over a year ago because just not worth. Yeah, I don't sell clothing either, so yes, definitely. I have a huge box. I probably got about 40 pieces of clothing. I don't know if anybody's interested in it, but I'd probably just sell it at what I have into it. I don't know if I have receipts, but I'm not going to sell it. The person who bought most of the other, they couldn't afford to keep going, and they're not reselling anymore. So I have a big box. Maybe I'll do a video. Maybe I'll offer it to Patreons first or something. I don't know, but there's some nice stuff in there. It's all good stuff. It's just stuff. I don't want to mess with clothing. Somebody asked me if I had inventory, I'd be willing to bulk. And that's about all I'd bulk out if there is somebody that's possibly interested. Somebody can hit me up in Patreon if you're a Patreon. If not, you can hit down in the comment section here. Maybe I'll do a video and show every piece in it as a side note. And if somebody is interested, I don't know. Somebody told me I should auction it off on here, but I don't want anybody to be unhappy. I'd rather just sell it at my cost and be done with it. Again, it's some good stuff. There's vintage in there, 60s psychedelic clothing too. The eBay managed page now shows fees for me. They're higher than current eBay plus PayPal, but by a bit, so much for savings. Yes, some of them are and some of them aren't. It just depends. Maybe Virginia's just a little behind. Then again, it's probably for the best. I have a ton of stuff I haven't even gone through. Most of the ones around here are just clothing. Yeah, I don't mess with them at all. No, I haven't talked to anybody who does clothing, use clothing. So other than the ones who are telling me their sales have tanked, I don't know if it's still that case. I haven't asked that question again. It's not. It's backstock. Don't call it a death pile. Come on. Let's slide down here. Question, and I just lost it. Is eBay considering old Playboy and Hustler adult material if it's in the magazine back issue? You cannot list Hustler in the adult material, and you also cannot list newer Playboys. I'm sorry, you can't list Hustler in the magazine section. Hustler magazine can only go in adult material. The vintage Playboys, some of those can go if they're before a certain date in the regular magazine section, but all the newer ones have to go in adults only material. Otherwise, you can get dinged. Just keep that in mind. If it's allowed to go in the regular magazine section, you can still sell just like normal. If it's adults only, it can't be sold under managed payments. That's the breakdown. Hustler does belong in the adults only. Steve Elmore, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, we are doing very good. Hey, Duncan, how are you doing? Going to have to miss the show. We'll listen later. Hope all is well. Everything is good there, Duncan. So many people in rural northern Maryland are frightened on the virus. Sales are down here because people here are afraid of touching things. I could see that. Yeah, again, be careful on Playboys. As I said, only some can go in the magazine section. I don't do Facebook business or anything like that. I have a page, but I don't do much with it at all. I haven't checked it in a very long time. I don't have time to do any social media hardly at all. If anybody knows, I have tried to post occasionally on Instagram, but I just totally get behind on all that stuff. Let's go to just a few topics. Let me just show you a few cool things here, and then we'll probably have to cut it quits. Hang on just 1 second. I'm sorry. I got an odd call. Okay. Let me just show you a few. In fact, let me go so I can see what I'm showing you. Let's see. It's probably going to take a minute. Maybe I can't show it to you with the reflection. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, that's not going to help. Too much reflection. Well, I'll do a video on them. Maybe I'll show you some. That's 1870s Innsbruck British button. But anyway, I guess I can't show you the buttons. Didn't think about the glare and the green. But anyway, let me pop back over. I'll just get another question or two in here. People do, as I said, they do sell it. They do sell Playboys in the magazine section, but some of them can get you in trouble. Yeah, our Goodwills are junk too. I went out for like 3 or 4 hours and we found like 3 things. One little thing in each store, enough to pay for my gas, and that was about it. Flipping goodies. What's the difference if you do a markdown or use promoted? You still give up money. Promoted listing, you're paying eBay a higher fee. If I do a markdown and discount, I don't pay eBay a dime. And a lot of the times, even with the promoted things, I have stuff on sale. I come out ahead if I run it myself because I can determine the amount I want to lower it to in the first place. You can do a 10% there and come out ahead even too. I just refuse to pay for a promoted listing on eBay because anybody with an ad blocker may not even see it in the first place. And I know eBay says that unless somebody sees and clicks on it, you won't pay. But I don't trust a lot of what they've said because some of the things they have said doesn't seem to be the case. Just like they're trying to say that ad blocker didn't block it at first and then they had to come out and admit it because of my video and on and on and on. I refuse to pay it to eBay just even out of sheer principle. Plus, it doesn't do a thing for me. Again, I do my own sales and markdown. I mark everything up so I can afford to do it in any way I want. In certain areas, I have the only items sold of that, or I have the only item like that on eBay, so they're going to have to buy mine. There's no competition, so why would I even pay for any of that in the first place? It'll come down to me marking it at a price that they think it's worth to buy certain items. That's my take on it. I just refuse to give it to eBay. It's out of sheer principle by their terminology, by the deceptive amount of percent they're given, and just the statements alone just weren't accurate in my book. Yeah, as long as they don't have nudity or adult content, if they have adult stories that are considered adult material, you can't list those either. It doesn't necessarily mean just ones with nudity. There are other ones that can be banned for sheer topic alone, I would say. Yeah, Gary's talking about you can get dinged for things that other people do. Honestly, I would just sheerly take it as I don't look at what other people do. If I get dinged for something, I don't care. I'm just going to stop doing it and move on from there. I don't look at what other people are listing on there. If I'm in doubt, I always look at the rules. If the rules say it, I just don't do it. I just go somewhere else with my merchandise. I mean, that's how I take it. That's why our income's now down to half of it comes from eBay, and that's it. It used to be 100%. Again, because they're doing this, they do that. I just take it somewhere else with the business, and we're doing just fine doing that. If eBay wants to make themselves irrelevant in some areas, that's fine. I can work around it. The adult one is probably the hardest one to work around because a lot of other platforms won't let you sell that type of material. So that's about the biggest one that I would say. Coins, there are other avenues to sell coins if you really want. I can sell them on Amazon, if that's really what I want to do. But anyway, I think we'll let it go with that. It's already rung. We've already ran longer than the hour that I always say I'm going to do. I do appreciate everybody coming in today. Again, I honestly and sincerely thank you for watching, for coming on. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, or please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't hit that like button down there either, I've had around 160 or so showing on my end, and I only got 84 likes. It'd be great if we could at least get to 100 likes before in the next few minutes here. I have updated the end credits for those new in Patreon because I have had quite a few new ones this week. And I will address all Patreon emails in the morning. I've been dealt with a lot of emails coming, which is perfectly fine. And probably the only ones who are getting email service are those in Patreon. Again, because of time, if nothing else to say. But again, I appreciate everybody coming on. Thanks for the super chats for those who did them as well. And I do appreciate it. Have a good day.